This is Rich J. Tilley, author and now narrator, I guess, of Way Too Unsubstantiated, second chapter, Auto Mechanics. What thoughts come to mind when we think about the profession of auto mechanics? Well, depending on our experiences, we may answer this question in several different ways. Some may respond negatively. Maybe we are still wounded with agitation and scars from deceitful behavior from our last encounter, crying out insults such as dishonest dirtball, sleazy crooks, or complete rip-off artist. Others may answer in a little more diplomatic way, bragging, I'm lucky. I've got a great mechanic, reinforcing their satisfaction level by adding, I trust him with any problem. He's great. Actually, he's my brother-in-law. We have a talk bubble by Ed, and he says, all is good until he divorces your sister. In the previous chapter, we identified that if we own at least one vehicle, we will probably be visiting a mechanic sometime soon, which will inevitably cause us to have to reach into our pocketbooks. Often we ignore the digital messages, warnings, and audible feedback from our vehicles, trying to avoid the predictable expenses required to solve the pending issues. If you're the type of individual who has placed a small piece of black electrical tape over the check engine light dashboard indicator so you don't have to see it while you're driving, you might be the one I'm talking about. I get it. There is never a good time to have to spend unexpected money, right? For those of us who have a few credit cards in our wallet, I am sure we'd all agree that most of the times that our card balances were racked up and jacked up had something to do with unforeseen auto repairs. Am I correct? We all know that throbbing, head pounding, migraine like stress we feel when we are experiencing serious vehicle issues. During times that mechanics are looking over our broken ride, our daily routine is usually completely disrupted. Innately, we all know we can't survive without our wheels, and we just want our vehicle back right now. We are stuck without it. We attempt to go about our daily chores, trying our best to concentrate, but have trouble focusing on anything because we know the service manager will be calling us back at any minute with the news from our estimate. Everybody can relate to this anxious, sickening feeling in the pit of our stomachs, not knowing what we're going to have to deal with in order to snatch our vehicle back from the repair shop. Random, fearful thoughts fly around our minds. If this bill is over $1,000, I am royally screwed. Fretting, gonna have to call my parents again and ask them if I can borrow more money. Or I'm going to have to run up my credit card to the limit again. How do we know if we have a trustworthy mechanic? Should we really call our trusty brother-in-law? Should we go back to the dealership service center from where we purchased our vehicle from in the first place? Are we looking for the local mechanic with the dirtiest fingernails that accepts cash only for the lowest cost fix? Or do we find the shop with the best reputation in town and call them only to find out they won't be able to look at our vehicle for several days? Which decision is best? If we stumble across an auto repair shop with an immaculately clean, perfectly organized garage bay, showcasing expensive epoxy floors and an upscaled high-end waiting area with beautiful interior decorating, does this somehow comfort us? Is this necessarily the company we wish to do business with? Where do you think this successful business is getting all this money from for the amenities? From whom? It's going to be from you and those that came before you, right? Are you seriously expecting a reasonable bill from this top-rated institution? I have an emphasis bar. It says the customer is the one paying for the free beverages and coffee. If our muffler suddenly started sputtering like a top-fueled dragster, we want to find the exhaust and brake shop that tells us they have a special device and clamping tool, and they would just bend the pipe around to fit it on. Or should we do business with the shop that informs us they don't carry the exact muffler part in stock for our vehicle model, but they can order it, and the part will be here in a few days? It is immensely difficult to know who we should put our faith in, right? These situations are why vehicle problems create so much stress in our lives. More times than not, whomever tells us they can fix our problem for the price we want to pay in the shortest amount of time generally gets the business. Here is a little middle-aged man's mild advice. Beware of people telling us exactly what we want to hear. This is a trap so many of us fall into when dealing with any salesperson. I have discovered that the most truthful salespeople are the ones that have the gall to tell us that what we're asking for is not feasible right now, and they can't do it, and they can't meet our timeline. Often, we decide to do business with another company because a competitor is not giving us what we want. We act like children, sulking and using threatening verbiage to the business like we will simply take our business elsewhere. Big mistake. Huge. Here is the reality. In actual fact, the best company or the person with the highest integrity is usually the one not afraid to tell us the truth that causes our dialogue with them to be a bit more painful. It is this uncomfortable dialogue that should win the business, not lose it, and not award our patronage to someone blowing smoke up into our rear ends. Let me ask you this. Why do slick-talking salespeople constantly lie and tell us what we want to hear, skirting the real truth from us so they can win us over and close the deal? Answer: because consumers continue to want to be sold this way. This common deceptive practice exercised by many salespeople is our own fault. We are to blame for this behavior. We should want our salesperson to have a backbone. And by the way, while we're on this subject, why do we continue to always do business with the best-looking sales associate? I'm not talking about only the auto industry now. I'm blanketing all industries. May I offer some additional advice in this area that will save us all unnecessary anguish for the rest of our lives? If we are faced with a choice between two different company representatives, we should always, I mean always, do business with the least attractive, blandest, and chubbiest sales associate. These flawed human beings are usually the ones that are the most thorough in their processes, most knowledgeable about their product, and operate with the highest integrity. Trust me, it's true. I have an emphasis bar that says beware of people telling you exactly what you want to hear. Professional business owners running auto repair shops that seem to be in it for the long haul know the long-term game plan to earn the public's trust. I like to call it the Wolf of Wall Street movie or 3 times a charm technique. For those of us that have been privileged to see this fantastic movie about a stock brokerage firm in the late 80s, early 90s, we might recall how Jordan Belfort, played by actor Leo DiCaprio, was able to con hundreds of wealthy people out of millions and become a multi-millionaire mogul on Wall Street. Here is how the movie plot plays out. In the early stages of the film, the firm's rookie stockbrokers cold call wealthy prospects, peddling blue-chip stock offerings in hopes of a short life cycle, positive ROI financial gain, to earn their new clients a quick profit and therefore earn themselves instant credibility. After the first round of transactions, the same stockbrokers call back their happy clients and urge them to reinvest their recent gains in another stock opportunity that showed even greater promise for another profitable return on their money. Top-level clients went along with the plan, and after they benefited from a large financial win on their investment for a second time, they were naturally thinking, man, I finally found a telephone buddy that can make me a crap load of money. They were over the moon and excited about this budding relationship that could solidify their family's financial future. However, shortly after this exchange came the third phone call, or the master plan, the event that the entire manipulative sales process was being set up for. It was the pitching of the infamous penny stocks. These were phony, unknown stocks in fraudulent corporations masterminded by Jordan Belfort. An investment portfolio strategy where the stockbrokers made all their money up front from their clients' large investment, and huge risk fell squarely upon their clients. Inevitably, the volatile penny stock values crumbled down to the worthless fake paper they really were, and the unsuspecting victims ended up losing most or all of their life savings. Dubiously, the salespeople and the firm had already been paid for all their personal commissions and lost nothing over the penny stock values plunging and crashing. Here's my point in all of this. The first two successful and legitimate investment transactions earned the essential trust factor between stockbroker and client. The third or fourth transactions were simply explained as a stroke of bad luck by the stockbrokers, but the entire scheme was planned on from the beginning. Back to auto repair shops. So some of you may believe that you have a trusty mechanic, huh? Expressing that they haven't steered you wrong yet. You may have taken your vehicle into them several times, emphasizing, they have always been fair and straight with me. In your initial exposure with the honest mechanic, the shop representative may have suggested, if you want to do everything today, that's up to you, but to save you a lot of money on this, we can just fix this smaller issue and get you back on the road. Fair? Of course you took them up on their more economical suggestion, leaving the repair shop happy and comforted, feeling like you had finally found a mechanic you can trust. So much so that you took your vehicle back to them again 6 months later when you had that other issue, remember? The same mechanic shop fixed the bare minimum for you again to stay within your budget. Where am I going with all this? What am I suggesting? Please read the next passage very carefully. Now, either this next scenario has already happened to you and you're about to have an oh shit moment, or the event is yet to happen, but it's coming, I assure you. I am referring to the infamous third or fourth trip back to the same auto mechanic. Your local mechanic's computer history screen indicates that you have been a repeat client, a valued repeat visitor, and loyal patron. This is the moment your trusty mechanic has been waiting for. Going along with the routine, you leave your vehicle at the shop and go about your business, waiting for the call back from Honest Joe, the service manager and co-owner of the shop. The familiar shop number appears on your cell phone display. You hurriedly pick up the call. Speaking emphatically, Joe relays the troubling news. Mrs. Jones, your vehicle has some major safety issues happening at this time. He delivers the infamous scare the crap out of you line. I would not drive this vehicle another mile. It's just too dangerous. We need to do this and that and replace this other thing. This labor-intensive fix is going to involve taking the entire engine apart. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this hindrance is going to cost in the neighborhood of $2,700. Of course, you are naturally crushed, thinking that you have always been told the truth. Why? Because Joe never lied to you before, why would he start now? Time to watch the movie again. You have been suckered and duped by the infamous penny stocks. Auto mechanics like to play games with the parts and labor lines on their invoices. How do we know if they really changed the parts that we are being billed for? How would we verify if they did or didn't? What are we going to do? Strip the engine apart when we get home to see if the replacement part underneath our head gasket looks brand new? I don't think so. If we could do this, we could have fixed the problem ourselves, right? The best way to flush out this disingenuous practice is to ask for our old parts back. If the service manager throws up some resistance to our request by saying, "Oh, we have a recycling outfit we contract with. We've probably already disposed of them for you," ask again to see the parts. If the supervisor relays, "We can't find the parts, they've already been picked up," then we know something shady is going on. There's a good chance we were charged for parts that the mechanics didn't even replace. This is the real reason why they can't find them. Too late now. Pay your bill and don't go back again. Talk bubble with Ed here. He said, "Busted." I have an emphasis bar. It says, "Always ask for your old parts back that the mechanics replaced." The labor charges that we are billed for are always an interesting spin. Question: if we work an hourly wage job, we work 8 hours and 7 minutes, do we get paid for an even 9 hours on our paycheck? No, we get paid for 8.25 hours. But auto mechanics only seem to have a billing system that has whole numbers to calculate hourly labor charges. A brake job that takes 2 hours and 20 minutes always comes out to 3 hours of labor, right? And speaking of this, how are we being charged $52 an hour for labor when the apprentice mechanic in the oil-stained overalls only makes $18 an hour? Who is the ghost mechanic making the other $34 an hour? Can I meet him? A commonly known myth is that auto mechanics like to take advantage of women because females supposedly don't know as much about vehicles as men do. This could be a vastly incorrect theory, but sometimes I do feel sorry for anyone who is relatively naive to the inner workings and makeup of a modern-day automobile. For example, if a not-so-mechanically inclined college-age girl strolls up to the shop counter looking a little frazzled, stressed out over her vehicle not acting right, the service manager may smell blood in the water. He might ask this damsel in distress, "How will you be paying for this today, miss?" She nervously replies, "Well, it's going to be credit, but I'm using my dad's Visa card. He's 3 states away, so the name doesn't match. Sorry, is that okay?" The manager smiles. "Sure, miss. No problem. We'll take care of you today. I just need your keys. Please have a seat in the lobby. I'll get the guys to take a look at it ASAP." We have an illustration here. It's a picture from behind the person working at the shop, and we see his computer screen. And we see one side says basic quote $919, and the other one says premium quote. It's highlighted in yellow. His cursor's hovering over it. It says $2,290. The young girl is looking through the glass, wondering what her estimate is going to be. Gee, I wonder if she's going to be taken to the cleaners. Here is my last-ditch effort to help everyone going to battle on the streets. This is the final passage. I think I may have shredded auto mechanics enough in this chapter, don't you think? Mechanics like to play a little cat and mouse game with us when we bring our vehicle in to see how much we know about fixing them. They speak to us in non-layman, highly technical geek speak terms for parts, vehicle systems, and mechanisms. Terminology that only a trained auto specialist would ever understand. Probing to see if we are looking back at them with a deer in the headlights, blank daze. Or sometimes the simpler the better. They ask us basic questions about our vehicle to see what kind of creativity they are going to implement with our final bill. For example, if a mechanic asks us, how many cylinders does your car have? Or is this a fuel injection motor? They are testing us to see how much we know, to see what they can get away with in their upcoming diagnostic ruse. Beware of this innocent conversational curiosity. Next time this happens, you might be onto them. You're welcome. Unsubstantiated advice from a middle-aged man about auto mechanics. Even when we think we have a trustworthy mechanic, we may not. Beware of the telltale signs of dubious behavior. Am I right about this, or just half right? Please search for the next video and free audio of Way Too Unsubstantiated. The next chapter begins with a C. It's about commitment. Thanks for listening, everybody.